My name is Kartika Anindya Putri for long. I'm from Indonesia and I'm a leadership development trainer.
My name is Macleod. I'm from Canada and I am an economic geographer.
So I have a bachelor's degree in computer science, which isn't obvious, but I realized quickly that dealing with computers is very logical and dealing with human is not, but people try to be logical, right? So this intersection of we believe logic is a good way to go and balancing that intersection with we are human and we have biases, there's no other. The most interesting area where that intersection plays out is leadership, right? Because we have different elements to manage, but those different elements don't have a clear set of rules. So that's why I was attracted to leadership coming from a computer kind of background. What that also means is I treat people as problems to solve.
I think it's very dangerous today where there's this big emphasis that younger people are supposed to find their passion, like what's your passion? Just do some things and then it will emerge. You will discover it. It's not some big thinking process you need to do. So it seems a bit more random sometimes to people, but it's really appreciating and making the most out of each situation. Yeah.
Oh, I'll add to that. Speaking for me, right? In a way, I'm still in my journey, for example, compared to Scott. So I'm tired of having to defend my life choices at this point in my life, right? And that discourages me from wanting to try something completely random because I feel I'll have to defend that choice even further. And that stops me from doing things that I actually wanted to do. And so I agree with you that this idea of one coherent narrative from the very beginning is too much to handle.
The biggest trick in life, I think, is not to let your strengths become your weaknesses. And if your strengths are that you're a super good student and you can really progress on that, don't let that constrain you. So that's all that you are. You need to push outside of
that. My advice would be realize that what you mean by real world is different to each person, right? So the very stereotypical idea of a scholar, for example, their world is in the lab or in the field if you're a field researcher, or in a classroom or in a university, right? That's their idea of being in the real world. But then there's a whole other group of people who don't identify as scholars and are not interested in identifying themselves as scholars. And they would say scholars are not living in the real world. Right? So our idea of what a real world is vastly different. And we have this concept called othering, which is how we start to identify those other people. And usually the first thing we do is we identify those other people as not being realistic or not living in the real world. So just to be conscious of how quickly we might set that boundaries between us and them.